America. It's a large organization, but we consider it as an umbrella organization. They do many workshops, conventions. Then Islamic Circle of North America, and I belong to Islamic Circle of North America. And as I mentioned before, we have 23 chapters, and our work is all over, especially in the area of outreach and social services. When Galveston and Houston were hit by hurricane, our domestic relief organization, ICNA Relief, did join with Red Cross and a Lutheran church and their relief organization. And they were later funded by FEMA on a project where they worked jointly with Lutheran services, and it was a year and a half worth of project where they reached out to people who are in faraway areas and just to find out how they were doing and what did they need. So that was a very wonderful project that two communities did together. Muslim American Society is another large grassroots Muslim organization, and their Advocacy chapter, which Brother Ibrahim belongs to, is Mass Freedom Foundation. Muslim Alliance of North America is another organization, which is a coalition of imams, and they represent mostly African American Muslim community. United Muslim Ummah is a Shia organization, and Muslim Ummah of North America is another organization mainly representing Muslims from Bangladesh. Among advocacy and social justice organizations, probably you all have heard of Council on American Islamic Relations, known as CARE, Mass Freedom Foundation, ICNA Council for Social Justice, and that's my project. American Muslims for Palestine is an organization very active in the cause of Palestine, and American Muslim Alliance. There are many other Muslim organizations which I have not listed. Islamic centers and mosques, as mentioned before, most of the Islamic centers are independent. The local community runs their own Islamic centers. They fund their activities and programs, and they run it and they manage it. National organizations do not control these Islamic centers or facilities. Some cities have their councils, which sometimes are called Shura Council or sometimes just Council of Islamic Centers or Mosques. In Southern California, it's a pretty active Shura Council. Chicago has active Council of CAOGC is called, Houston and New York. Working with national organizations. Here, I have only mentioned two organizations which I personally know that they are involved in interfaith work. Brother Ibrahim can share us more on that. U.S. Council of Catholic Bishops, they do, every year they arrange 3 dialogues. One in West Coast, one in Midwest, and one in Mid-Atlantic region. ICNA and USCCB, we jointly hold this Mid-Atlantic seminar, which is for 2 days, on one topic which concerns Catholic community and the Muslim community. A couple of years ago, we did a discussion forum and dialogue forum on marriages between Catholics and Muslims, so issues relating with that. Starting last year, now we're working on educational material and what do Catholics teach or Catholic schools teach their students about Islam, and what Islamic schools are teaching to their students about Catholicism. So that is our project that we are working on, and actually May of this year will be our second dialogue on this subject. National Council of Churches of Christ, they have, with Muslim organizations, National Muslim Christian Initiative, and our meeting was in last month in Los Angeles. National Council of Church of Christ, we are working on a project where this model of national organizations sitting and discussing what to do and how to transfer it at a local city, a local mosque, and a local church, how they can come together and start some sort of activity and dialogue. Religions for Peace USA is another organization. Actually, there's a Religions for Peace International, and then there's a Religions for Peace USA, which is the USA chapter. And ISNA is a member of that. Interfaith Peace Builders and National Religious Council Against Torture is another organization which is a good organization actively working to end torture in the U.S. and abroad.
Only to add to this, I'll say that recently, well, not actually over the last couple of years, MASS has been working with organizations that are concerned with worker justice and immigrant rights issues. There's an umbrella organization called Interfaith Worker Justice, which I'm sure probably many of you are familiar with. The executive director of that group is Kim Bobo in Chicago. We've been actively engaged in supporting outreach within our community, but also linkages, we hope, between the Muslim American community and the largely immigrant Latino community to talk about issues of common interest around worker justice and immigration justice. A worker justice issue, for example, is the issue of wage theft in America, and as many as 25% of low-wage workers are subjected to various kinds of wage theft. Overtime wages lost, tips being lost, people being forced to work off the books, people being told that they'll be paid at one rate but are actually paid at a lower rate. And we think this is an injustice not only in the Quranic religious sense of injustice, but also a violation of U.S. law. So we are very, very actively involved in supporting the work that Interfaith Worker Justice does, that Jobs for Justice does, and that other immigrant right and wage right organizations are doing. Recently, I was asked to be on the board of, well, actually a board of people here in the District of Columbia that listen to and report on wage violation issues and wage integrity issues. And the process, of course, is that we want to form relationships with other religious organizations that are concerned with immigrant rights and also basic worker justice issues. The other thing I'll say about national organizations is that as Muslims become more involved and engaged in the civil society, we realize that we have to be engaged in issues that are not necessarily defined as Muslim issues. One, of course, is the ongoing debate on national health care reform. Several of us from ICNA, myself from MASS and others, have testified at citizens' hearings on Capitol Hill on the critical need for a broad multi-religious approach to supporting health care reform. We didn't get involved in the formulation of this or that option, although we do think that what is being presented generally by the Democratic Party, my disclaimer, of course, is that we're not speaking in a partisan way now. Although, according to my notes, about 50% of Muslims are registered as Democrats, a third are independents, and 2 or 3 in the country are Republicans. But you didn't hear me say that. Edit that from the tape, please. But essentially, what we're saying is that the issues that confront American people, issues of quality of life, of environmental integrity, issues of the abolition of nuclear weapons, and we did a forum on that back in November of last year on Capitol Hill, issues of health care policy, that all these things that are not normally defined as specifically related to the Muslim community are in fact Islamic issues, because we are part of America. And as Brother Naeem has said, all of these things that are happening in terms of dialogue and active